Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I wanted to wait until Mr. Superboy made his video on the Highland Park mass shooting before I made any content on the subject. And the reason why I wanted to wait for Mr. Superboy to make his video on the Highland Park mass shooting is because I believe that he has the most knowledge of the Chicago area, and I believe he could give the most in-depth analysis on the story as related to the Highland Park shooting. Now, there was a tragic mass shooting that took place in Highland Park, Illinois, and sadly 7 people wound up losing their lives and 30 people wound up being injured when a mass shooter decided to climb the roof of one of the stores in the area and use it as a place to target all of the attendees of the 4th of July parade. Now, the police are seeing this as yet another isolated incident in a series of mass shootings all across America, but when I take a critical examination of the mass shooter suspect, Robert Crimo III, he fits right in line with the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. Now, your Robert Crimo is what I believe to be one of these beta males who comes from a affluence and coming from a home with a beta male father, and him coming from that affluent environment is one of the things that I believe led to his motive for murder. Now, your Robert Crimo the third was out here calling himself something called the Awake the Rapper, and as he Awake the Rapper on his social media, he placed several disturbing videos and content online that are clearly, to me, as I'm seeing them, warning signs for the violence he participated in on July 4th. Now, your Robert Crimo posted several disturbing videos on social media like YouTube and places like Facebook and Instagram, and posted images of either him being killed or participating in violence, and this videos and this content remained on platforms like YouTube for over a year. Now, I find that to be quite troubling because your YouTube has no problem going after black channels and flagging their content like they did with mine. I mean, a video I posted which didn't even get a chance to premiere was false flagged for some sort of disturbing content, but this guy manages to stay on their platform for over a year. The video that I was going to premiere, that video had no content that violated the community guidelines, but your YouTube is watching my channel like a hawk and the channels of other black people like a hawk, and meanwhile, individuals like this are out here placing content on YouTube, and it's sitting there for over a year. And these videos that your Robert Crimo III were on there, basically him planning violence as related to this Highland Park shooting. One of the videos he showed basically showed the entire parade route and remained on YouTube for over a year. Now, this Robert Crimo had been a very deeply, as I see it, evil individual over the course of a couple of years, and he had been planning this whole incident for an entire year. And this is something that a lot of beta males go out here and do. A lot of beta males, they hide all of their anger and their feelings, and they make plans to participate in violence in a place I call the secret world. Now, your beta male, they'll appear to be unassuming on the outside, but on the inside, in the secret world, this is the place where they feel safe about participating in their masculinity. And your Robert Crimo looks like he felt very safe online to participate in his masculinity because, as Awake the Rapper, he was out here participating in showing how much he hated people and how much he wanted to plan violence. And he was out here doing this online for years and because he felt safe in the secret world and he felt safe that no one would come after him in the secret world. And he used online platforms like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and many others as a place where he could express his masculinity, he thought, and he was out here looking to plan and plot violence against people, and most people didn't really pay attention. And the main reason why they didn't pay attention is because he was a white male, and they give white male passes for participating in violence because they don't think that that violence is coming back to them. Now, there are some out here who want to try to say that they want to blame black people for this by saying, oh, he was a rapper. No, this had nothing to do with rap or hip hop. This Robert Crimo was a very evil individual, and he's an evil individual who had a deep secret hatred and anger for people, and he wanted to go out here and hurt people because he just hated people. This guy had been making plans to hurt people ever since he was in high school, and he had been talking about this for several years, talking about killing people, and he had also attempted suicide. So this guy was really just depraved for an extended period of time, and the only thing that kept people from knowing about it was the fact that maybe his father had money to cover it up. Unfortunately, his father couldn't cover up the violence he participated in on July 4th because he went out here and took out that rifle and then shot and tried to murder most of those individuals at that parade. And I believe as he was out here looking to participate in that violence, he was looking to copy the previous mass shooter, Stephen Paddock, who had murdered over 60 people in Las Vegas. Now, your Robert Crimo, he decided to do this on July 4th, and he did it on July 4th because he wanted to go out in infamy, and he wanted to go out in a way that would make a statement that would surpass many of these other mass shooters like your Stephen Paddock. That's the main reason I believe that your Robert Crimo went out here in a dress to this parade, went up on that rooftop in a dress, and then went up to that rooftop and went out here and took out that rifle and shot up all those attendees at that parade. It was basically to try to top previous mass shooters that he had heard about, like Stephen Paddock, who had gone out here and still holds the record for the highest number of deaths in a mass shooting. Now, when it comes down to these beta males, I believe, are in a competition with each other to see who can make the most infamous act of violence in this country. This is one of the things that these beta males are doing because they cannot go out here and get success on their own. They cannot go out here and achieve a major accomplishment through merit. So a lot of these males, what they want to do is go out in infamy, and they want to go out in an infamous fashion where they can get their name out in the news. And this guy, he had been planning this for months on end, and he had been planning it because, again, he really probably was not seeing the success he wanted as Awake the Rapper. He wasn't seeing the fame he wanted as Awake the Rapper, and being online, he hadn't really built up that much of a following. One of his songs or one of his videos got 39,000 views, so that's nothing compared to a Hollywood superstar who can get over 1 million in a day. And I believe this is one of the things that frustrated your Robert Crimo, that he could not be a star, and his bizarre behavior wasn't really catching on. So he wanted to go out in infamy by participating in this horrific act of violence, and he wanted to go out here and get attention for himself. That's my speculation on the subject. of Robert Crimo. He's still talking to police, and I'm wondering what he's going to say. But when I look at him, I see one of these beta males who I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, one of these guys who was living in the secret world for an extended period of time, got frustrated, got angry, and then decided to go and participate in this act of infamy to get himself one last second of fame before he wound up getting locked up. Now, what's interesting here about your Robert Crimo is your Robert Crimo went out here, participated in this act of violence, and he wound up being captured by police. And he got captured by police with no resistance to police, completely different from what happened with Jalen Walker. Now, Jalen Walker, in the incident he had with police over a tail light, was winding up getting shot 60 times, but your Robert Crimo, a man who practically allegedly murdered 7 people and wounded 30 in a horrific mass shooting, the police capture him with no incident. And I have to wonder if they took him for some Burger King like they did Dylan Roof. Because it's very disturbing to me that a beta white male can go out here and participate in a horrific act of violence, murdering innocent people, and the police can take him in with no problems. But a black man goes out here and gets stopped for a traffic light, and then he's got 60 bullets in him. That's another video though. But this beta male, again, he's definitely fitting that pattern and profile for those beta males. He was a ticking time bomb, and what's really sad is he was a ticking time bomb that was allowed to run the clock out, I believe, because he of his white skin, because all those warning signs that were there online on multiple websites showing this individual's disturbing behavior, but no one connected the dots as related to his disturbing behavior. And I find that to be quite disturbing because this guy clearly was letting everybody know he was going to participate in an act of violence, but nobody wanted to go out here and call him on it or go after him. I mean, this is the third white guy that was probably out here doing this and leaving warning signs. I mean, you had your Peyton Gedron, who left a trail online. You had your Uvalde shooter, he left a trail online, and this guy leaves a trail online, but the police can't seem to connect the dots in all 3 of these murderers, and they sit there and tell us they can't find the trail. But black people, that's probably because they're too busy watching black YouTubers out here looking for us to say something about some political party or something else, or talk about black empowerment. They're so busy watching black channels that they're missing out on these white mass killers, and these white mass killers are out here taking the lives of innocent people because everybody is focused on trying to take down black people on social media instead of looking for the warning signs from white guys like this who are clear and present danger. Now, you have politicians now still coming out here talking about gun control, and even the new gun control laws would not have stopped this beta male. No, your Robert Crimo was 22 years old, so that new law saying that you couldn't buy an assault rifle at 21 wouldn't work on him, nor would these other background checks work, because your Robert Crimo would have passed them easily. Because many in government really just don't understand that it's not the guns that are the problem here as related to gun violence. It has to do with the way we have been raising boys here in America for the last 50 years. And in many of these homes, like the ones Robert Crimo came from, many of these males have been raised dysfunctional, and they've been raised dysfunctional, like in Robert Crimo's case, where they have received no guidance from their mother or their father because they're too busy living their lives to see that your son is a disturbed individual, and he's a disturbed individual because he's been imbibing lots of media without anybody to sit there and give him some guidance not anybody there to give him some structure. And because when you don't give boys guidance and structure, what they do is imbibe and absorb this media, and they go out here and believe that they have a right to go out here and hurt others because they have no semblance of a conscience and no semblance of understanding about the consequences of their actions. And this is what the core foundation of what I believe made your Robert Cremo an evil individual, because only an evil individual would want to go out here and talk about killing people because they're not concerned about anybody else's life. And the main reason they're not concerned about anybody's life is because they've been raised not to regard anybody's life because their parents were too busy living their own life. And because they didn't put anything into their boy, he grew up to become an extremely depraved and indifferent man. And this depraved and indifferent man was sitting out here sending us messages about how dangerous he was and how evil he was out here looking to do harm to others. He probably felt, since nobody's listening to my crap rap music, I have a right to go out here and do harm to others. And that's the way many of these beta males think. Oh, if I can't make life work the way I want it to work, then I have a right to destroy people's lives around me. That's the way many of these beta males sit here and think. Oh, I don't have, if I can't get things to go the way I want, then I have a right to hurt everybody else. And that's primarily because many of these males, they grow up not understanding right from wrong. Again, due to the way that they're raised in these dysfunctional households, they're raised not to understand right from wrong. And this boy, clearly, he was evil because he didn't even care about right or wrong. All he cared about was hurting people, and he did this with malice of forethought. He deliberately planned this attack all from for an extended period of time, and he went out here with malice of forethought, and that's shown by the plans he made, that's shown by him putting on a dress, that's shown by him making his escape and his getaway. This beta male deliberately planned to do this. There is nothing mentally wrong with this individual, and that's something people have to understand about these beta males. There is nothing mentally wrong with them. Yes, their plans may appear crazy on the surface, but there is a method to their madness, and that method is they want to make everything appear crazy so that they can get some people to empathize with them, sympathize with them, and hopefully get a not guilty by reason of insanity in court. But there's nothing wrong with these individuals. They know what they're doing. They know why they're doing it. They have malice of forethought as related to their actions, and that's why these individuals need to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And I would have to say that this individual, he deserves federal terrorism charges because what he did at that parade was an act of terror, the same way your Peyton Gendron participated in an act of terror when he shot up the top supermarket, and the same thing with the Uvalde mass shooter. These mass shooters, they are participating in acts of terrorism, and we need to treat them like the terrorists that they are. The big problem with America as related to these terrorists is that we are seeing all of these acts of terrorism from these beta males because of the precedent set by the Rittenhouse verdict. Now, the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, many people on the far right fought for that verdict, and they got that verdict. Unfortunately, that interpretation of the law is leading to, I believe, the motivation of multiple mass shooters believing that they can go out here and get their 15 minutes of fame. When they saw Kyle Rittenhouse get acquitted, many of these other mass shooters started to believe that, oh, I can get away with this, and I can also get this attention and this fame from a horrific act of violence. They saw that Kyle Rittenhouse got a pass for his crimes, and what happened was that's why we're seeing these other mass shooters like your Peyton Gendron, like the Uvalde mass shooter, and like this Robert Cremo. These beta males, they see a pattern to the behavior. And again, like with the case of Stephen Paddock, people wanting to meet his break past his number, these beta males are in a competition to try to see who can create the most infamous act of violence, and they want to see who can go out here and commit the most heinous crime. That's the main reason why this shooter chose July 4th. It was to meant not it was meant to go out here and make it an episode in infamy, because if you go out here and commit a crime on the day America celebrates its independence, you can go out here and make a statement to the world about how you're going to make America less safe. Again, these beta males, it's all about them trying to make their mark in the world. It's all about them trying to get fame, and that all of that quest for fame and through infamy is primarily because many of these males, one, are just feel very evil, and two, because many of these males were never raised to understand what purpose was or to have a direction. Again, they don't know how to function in the world, so this is why they go out here and look to go out here and explode in rage and participate in an act of infamy, because they don't know how to function in the world. And that's even with a rich father and plenty of money. You would think that this guy would go out here and start his own business. I mean, he did with this Awake the Rapper. But again, beta males, they don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to put in work. They don't know how to have discipline and resolve. And because they don't know how to persevere in the face of failure and push, what they do is they want to go out here and hurt others, because they don't want to go through the pain that many, like myself, have to go through. No, they don't want to go out here and put in the work after you wind up failing and continue to persevere. No, they want to get frustrated and angry, and they want to act out. And this guy, I believe, wanted to do this because he was spoiled, he was entitled, and he thinks he's going to get away with this. But I don't think he's going to get away with this, because this crime is too heinous. I mean, if the state doesn't charge him with the 7 murders, he's going to also be charged with federal charges as related to domestic terrorism. And at the end of everything, what's waiting for him inside of either the Illinois jail or the Supermax prison is Bubba and Tiny waiting to trade his little goofy little Maynard G. Krebs looking self for some Little Debbie snack cakes, Oreo cookies, Kit Kat candy bars, Fruit Stripe gum, or what is it? Cans of Dr. Pepper. I mean, he's looking at being traded in the Supermax for the rest of his life if they're not going to take him to the penitentiary. And once they get him in there, they're going to turn this little Maynard G. Krebs looking clown in tight end into a wide receiver, and they're going to be scoring touchdowns with him practically every day, because the crime he committed was absolutely so heinous that it just is disturbing. And the worst part about it is he wound up breaking the tranquility and peace of that Highland Park, because it's reported that Highland Park is one of the most affluent areas in Illinois. This is an area where Michael Jordan supposedly lives. This is where a lot of wealthy people live. And this spoiled little rich boy destroyed people's sense of security, destroyed people's sense of safety. And the irony is that they don't see that the reason why this guy broke their tranquility and their safety is due to the fact that they didn't spend any time raising this boy and preparing him for manhood. This male was not ready to be a man. This male did not know how to function as a man. This male was a ticking time bomb for many years. And this was not a mental health issue. This had to do with him being a dysfunctional individual. And the whole thing is, we're not looking at the core problem here with America's men. We have a man crisis in this country, and these ticking time bombs are out here ready to participate in violence, and that violence is fueled by their frustration, their anger, and what amplifies that anger is they go on places like these online echo chambers, get these ideas, and they start thinking about tries to top other violent individuals, And that's what makes these guys extremely evil and extremely dangerous. I mean, this was an act of evil, and we need to call it the evil act that it is, and we need to call this individual the evil individual that he is, because he wasn't looking to do anything but hurt people and take their lives. I mean, he is no different than what happened with Stephen Paddock in Las Vegas. And if you connect the dots with all of these different shooters, you see a pattern emerging. But sadly, America doesn't want to talk about that pattern. And the reason why it doesn't want to talk about that pattern is, one, it doesn't want to talk about this pattern because it means confronting America's women about the way we raise boys to become men. And two, it means that we have to start confronting the approach to American life we have in this country, because there are a lot of people who make money from the current dysfunctional state of America. And if we change the way we raise boys to become men, we wind up having to take away a lot of money from those individuals, and that's something that they don't want to do. And that's the main reason why they don't want to acknowledge the man crisis that's going on in this country. That's the main reason nobody wants to talk about the man crisis in this country. We have a serious problem with over 100 million men in this country, and those men are landmines littered all across this country. And that's something nobody in America wants to talk about. None of the politicians want to discuss the millions of landmines that are across this country, and they don't want to talk about these landmines practically going off every week. I mean, ever since I started this series of videos back in 2015 or 2014, we have seen an increase in frequency of the violence these beta males participate in, and nobody wants to talk about it. And nobody wants to talk about how the violence continues to get worse, and your gun legislation is not going to stop beta males. No, the only way we're going to deal with beta males is by acknowledging the man crisis, acknowledging the way we're raising boys to become men is a failure, and realizing that we need to invest in men, and we need to invest in a new approach to raising boys to become men, one that is rooted in the Bible, one that is rooted in manhood, one is rooted in bringing the father back to the home, and one rooted in teaching boys leadership and teaching them about purpose. Because what we have now, as a result of the 60 years of dysfunction, is we've got these soft males. These males have no purpose, no direction, and they just look to do harm to others because they see no value in their lives. But when I look at this case, again, this is a textbook incident as related to the man crisis, and this happened on the 4th of July, showing us that while we celebrate our independence, we are in bondage because we have 100 million beta males looking to terrorize us all across this country. Now, if you want to learn more about how these beta males become dysfunctional and participate in violent acts like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.